After the terrorist attack on 9/11, the United States federal government realized that they needed to take a different approach to terrorism. They realized that they couldn't treat terrorists simply like criminals, and that is why they created military commissions. Now, the affirmative team is not, or the negative team is not denying that there are some flaws in the current system. But the fact is that these flaws are nowhere near as great and disastrous as the affirmative team's plan would lead to. At the end of the day, there is a necessary balance in the current system between military commissions and Article 3 courts. And the affirmative team is not going to be upholding that balance. In today's speech, I want to go over three main points. First of all, the goal. Second of all, justice. And third of all, national security. First of all, let's go over the goal. Now, the goal that the negative team presented was that of national security, and the goal that the affirmative team presented was that of justice. Now, as I stated in my first speech, they basically responded to our goal by saying that national security wasn't jeopardized. But my partner brought up significant evidence saying that it was jeopardized. But the reason why we need to value national security more is because that is the entire purpose of justice and every policy of the United States of America. Every policy is designed towards protecting its citizens, and that's why that goal should be upheld. Next, let's move on to justice. Now, basically, in Abby's last speech, she basically made the contention that justice wasn't being served in the current system because terrorists weren't receiving their due punishment. However, I'm a little confused about this because Abby later admitted in cross-examination that that the terrorists in Guantanamo Bay will probably never be released. So the fact is that they may get a life sentence, they may not. Actually, the affirmative team evidence in their 1AC talked about somebody who didn't get a life sentence, but in Guantanamo Bay, they're getting a life sentence. In the Article 3 courts, they may be getting a life sentence. So this simply is not going to be serving justice. My second point is that of national security. And my first subpoint under this is that of terrorists go free. Terrorists go free. I have three ways in which terrorists could go free. First of all, the critical dilemma. The critical dilemma. Now, the critical dilemma is basically, do we let the terrorists go free or not use the evidence that we have against them, or do we use that evidence and use that sensitive information that the terrorists can use? And so in some cases, as has happened in the past when we tried Article 3 courts, in some cases, terrorists have not been able to be convicted because we haven't been able to use evidence. So that's one way in which terrorists go free. But also, the affirmative team provided evidence in the 1AC, talking about how somebody was convicted for 15 years. However, what happened after that 15 years is my question. Now, the affirmative team has no procedure set up for what we do to deal with these prisoners. So basically, we're going to be treating them like any other prisoner, even though they are foreign citizens. We're going to be treating them like American prisoners, and we're just going to be letting them back out into American society. Now, my second point under national security is that of Americans harmed. Americans harmed. My first point under this is that of the critical dilemma. Now, the other side of the critical dilemma is that we do use this information. The terrorists the defendants are actually able to look at this evidence, and it is made public. And that is very detrimental to national security. I have a piece of evidence here. I'm not going to read it because of time, but actually, Osama bin Laden gained critical information because of terrorists tried in Article 3 courts. And then the other example of Americans harmed is the example that my partner brought up, the example of Louis Pepe. We cannot let this happen again. Louis Pepe talked a little bit after he was dead. He had an interview with New York Post where he said, about halfway through they used a comb, thick and long, about 10 inches with a handle. They'd taken the teeth out and sharpened it like a knife. They put it in my left eye. It went 3 inches into my brain. They did surgery. I lost my left eye and suffered from brain damage. For 2 years, I couldn't speak. I couldn't write. I couldn't walk. These people want to kill and go to Allah. They want to become martyrs. They want jihad. They want to kill people, and that's all they want. The affirmative team is not treating these terrorists like terrorists, and we need to do that, and that is what the current system is doing. At the end of the day, I ask you to stand with the necessary balance between the Article 3 courts and between military commissions, and I ask you to stand with the negative team. Thank you.